Oh, hi, it's your old buddy Zoo again, and today we're doing a comprehensive review of the AYN Thor. This is essentially a Retroid Flip 2 with the guts of the Odin 2, so by all rights it should be amazing, right? You've got impressive power coupled with these two amazing AMOLED screens and a dual screen experience that by and large works great right out of the box. Is it a perfect device, though? Is it an end-game tier device? Well, that depends a lot on your needs and your expectations and actually your hands. And if you don't understand what I'm talking about, that's fine. Just sit tight, stay tuned, and watch as we dive deep into the world of the AYN Thor. Let's start off by talking about the display on this thing. The Thor features two beautiful AMOLED displays, so the OLED snobs won't have anything to sneer about with this one. The top screen is a 6-inch AMOLED 1080p panel with a refresh rate of 120 Hz. You actually control it with the FPS mode here on the bottom. Speaking of that bottom screen, it's a 3.92-inch screen that was previously used in the Retroid Pocket Classic. It's 1080p, it has a refresh rate of 60 Hz, and it's really, really good, albeit with half the refresh rate of the main display. The top screen is 16:9 and the bottom screen is 31:27, which is an oddball ratio that's essentially the same as 8:7. These two panels don't exactly mirror the 3DS or the 2DS, but it's close enough for me for 3DS games, and then the second panel's aspect ratio doesn't really matter outside of that. I mean, that being said, we'll probably get a novel in the comments from someone who cannot watch YouTube videos in 31:27. But besides that guy, we'll call him Kyle. Besides Kyle, you're fine. The color accuracy and vibrance on these panels, especially on top, is amazing. But, you'd honestly expect that on an AMOLED screen. It's something that's not really showing up super well on my old camera here, but it's really, really striking in person. So right here we have a comparison of the same game on both the Thor and my new, it's not new anymore, it's 15 years old, but my new 3DS XL. And you can see this one's much more striking. It's much brighter. You're not really seeing it here because this is a video, but it's upscaled 3x, 4x. From my perspective, this is better in every single way than the 3DS. Even some people got mad about, it doesn't have 3D on it. I never used 3D. I did a whole 3DS showcase. I honestly never really used 3D on the original 3DS. Size-wise, they are very, very similar. You can see with the Thor on top here, the 3DS XL is a little bit wider. They're about the same height, and they are very, very similar outside of the fact that the Thor, by dint of 15 years worth of innovation, has much better triggers, shoulder buttons overall. That had a slider and a C-nub, for God's sakes. Everyone says this is amazing. It's the best way to play 3DS is on a modded 3DS. They're forgetting about the slider and this nub. Come on, let's get honest here. Another comparison I really want to make here, this is the Retroid Flip 2. And in a lot of ways, you look at these two things, especially just the shoulders and the triggers and the hinge and a lot of other things, but you look at these two devices and you would say, boy, those are made by the same company. And yet, I am assured that Retroid and AYN are not the same company. And we will not discuss it any further. I mean, they're the same company. But look, here's a Retroid Flip 2. This was my handheld of the year up until about August, I think. It's amazing. It's beautiful. It's compact. Mine, at least, has a hinge that is still kicking. But I think we have a new champion in this one that's basically a Flip 2 with much more power and two actual functioning screens. If you look at the two devices from up top, they're somewhat similar, except the fan is up here versus up here on the back. You can see, again, neither of these had butt doots. We're going to talk about that when we talk about ergonomics, but really, guys, just put butt doots on these things. And then a striking difference on the Flip 2 versus the Thor, there's no bottom screen. Now that we're done with our comparisons, let's do a real quick device tour. There's not much to see on the outside. On the very bottom, you have your volume, which the position of this, I really would have liked it on the side because I'm struggling to consistently actually turn the volume up when I want to turn the volume up. It's a weird placement and kind of confusing to my brain. You have your power, your SD card, you have your USB-C, your only USB-C port, and your headphone jack on the bottom, which is nice. Nothing on the front, nothing on the back except for this big old fan and some ports. You have your shoulders and your triggers on top, and everything else is on the actual device itself. Start and select, you have a home button, a back button, you have this AYN button, which brings up a cool menu here on the bottom. You can have stats, you can go to your task manager, you can change your mode if you want only top or only bottom, you can change your brightness over here, woo, or just disregard it altogether. The controls on this device are actually pretty good, especially for a clamshell. The face buttons are a hair, oh god. The face buttons, they're a hair loud for my taste, but if you do one at a time, it's not bad. It's just when you're going crazy, like in a fighting game, just going ham, starts to get a little clicky. The D-pad on here is actually really solid. The pivot is about halfway down the cross of the D-pad. If you want to be really precise, if you hold the bottom and rock, it's actually very difficult to get, there's one, to get false direction inputs. You really have to push like the whole pad over. That being said, if you want to do crazy fighting moves, choke up a little bit to the middle of the D-pad, and then you can get all your diagonals and your 8-way fighting stuff. The sticks on here are very good. They're Hall effect, and they're very precise, even when you're playing modern FPS games. They're extremely recessed to accommodate the clamshell design, but there weren't really a lot of corners cut. It's actually a really good job overall with these sticks. The triggers and the shoulders are fine on their own, but sometimes they're a little bit awkward to hit, especially if you have like your thumb all the way down here using this stick. You kind of have to claw a little bit to hit it. It's not the end of the world, you get used to it, but it's just something to point out if you do maybe have smaller hands or you're more susceptible to like awkward grips. And it's kind of unavoidable because this is essentially just a big flat rectangle. Speaking of being a big flat rectangle, the ergonomics on this, they're not great. It's very similar to the 3DS XL for better and for worse. I played the hell out of this thing. You can see the D-pad's just really worn out. It's scuffed everywhere. I use this all the time for years, and I never really got used to it. It always made my thumbs hurt right at the joint here, going into the meat of your hand. It's just right there, achy. And it stayed with you for a little bit. Like, am I gonna get arthritis from playing the DS?
Huh?
That's the same issue you have here. And I know why they did it, because this is actually a pocketable device. It slips in your jeans without too much trouble at all. But the issue is it hurts my hands if I play it for more than like half an hour. And I intend to actually use this thing. All that being said, this is an extremely solvable issue. AYN has a grip available on their website, but I ordered mine over a month ago. It's not here yet. It might not even have shipped yet, if we're going to be honest. But luckily, our buddies from JC Studios are right down the road in the good old US of A, and they sent me a thick and a slim grip. I went with the thick one here, and honestly, it's a game changer. They added just enough butt doots on the back and little dual shock handles. Not too much, it's not extreme, but it's enough that your hands kind of flare out a little bit. It alleviates a lot of my ergonomic problems. It actually alleviates a lot of my hand fatigue, my joint pain from playing this. That being said, there is a drawback with the thick model here, and the drawback is that it kills the pocketability. I have a hard time with this thing closed, even slipping it into like the interior pocket of my dad coat, so I find myself taking it out of the grip, but then I need to carry the grip separately. The thinner grip eliminates that, but I do like them thick, so it's kind of a Sophie's Choice situation going on. The Thor here comes in a bunch of color options, and after seeing the renders and then seeing the pictures on the website, and especially after seeing pictures of these in actual people's hands through our Discord, I honestly don't know that there's a bad choice you can make. I went with transparent purple here, and I set my LEDs to just a faint glowing neon green, just for that peak 90s aesthetic. You know, like the Joker meets the Mighty Ducks meets Donatello. It's very 90s, very retro, and I just like the opportunity we have to do that, especially with these transparent colors because it just kind of pops, I think. We're going to move on to what's under the hood next, but I want you to rest assured that all of the hoods themselves are great. Now, this is the Pro version of the Thor. It has 12 gigs of RAM and 256 gigs of onboard storage. I think this is probably the best overall trim level, but I do know that some people like the Max variant with 16 gigs of RAM and 1 terabyte of onboard storage purely because they're going to use it for Win Later or Game Hub. You can really lean on the RAM in those situations and definitely load your onboard storage with tons of Steam games. And as we all know, Steam games are big. On the flip side, there are 2 cheaper options, which I really wouldn't recommend either of them because you're cutting corners. The cheapest version has a Snapdragon 865, and honestly, I don't know anyone that's actually received one. It's the same chip that's in the Retroid Pocket 5 and the Flip 2, and I guess if you're really stretched for cash and you need a Thor, you could go that way, but why not spend a bit more for a much more powerful chip? Then you have the base model, which has the same Snapdragon 8 Gen 2 chip as this guy, but just 8 gigs of RAM and 128 gigs of internal storage. Again, if you're on a tight budget, okay, but you're really limiting what you can do with higher end emulation if you only have 8 gigabytes of RAM. Now, this is packing the same exact power as the Odin 2 line, and while it's not brand new, it's not groundbreaking like it was at the end of 2023, it's still a really, really good chip. If you're not trying to perfectly emulate Switch or every PS3 game or stuff like that, it's perfectly acceptable, and it still might be an endgame level chip for a lot of people. I'm kind of forced to keep chasing the next big thing when I do reviews, but honestly, this device could be legitimately endgame for me on a personal level, because if I want to play Switch 2 games, I'll play them on my Switch 2. If I want to play PS4 games, I'll play them on my PS4. We've escalated beyond retro at this point. I mean, this game came out 2 years ago. We also know what this chipset will do, which means I'm not going to go crazy hard on testing. There's not going to be like half an hour of different gameplay footage, but I am going to show off some Switch games and some 3DS games just in case you're not familiar. If you do want more in-depth info, I've also linked to our earlier Odin 2 reviews in the description. Good luck. Ah! Oh no, ball is in the parking lot. I wonder if I can do a pit maneuver. No. Driving around in my sports car, playing Alice in Chains, almost crashing into people. This game truly is Divorced Dad Simulator 2025. Whoa! Gross. I hate this tree. Aw. I mean, I hate this tree. Get dunked on. Ooh, what's this? An acorn? Stack that up there. Oh, it doesn't like that. My treehouse! Now this also has Wi-Fi 7 on here, so as long as your local network is decent, streaming on here is actually a breeze. A barge?
Get aboard and find out who they're working with.
Kill them all. I hate barges. Just having a seizure in the water. Oops. Uh-oh. I fell in the water. Whee! Got him. One interesting thing, it's not necessarily a defect, it's just kind of the fact that if you force this top screen to run at 120 Hertz and try to use the bottom one, can you see how it's kind of tearing? If I pull it, oh yeah, the text is like cut in half. You can see that weird line across the screen. It's just kind of odd. But if that's a huge problem with you and you want to use your bottom screen here for web browsing, just turn it to 60 FPS mode and look, it goes away. Ooh. Also check out our cool website. There's articles written by me and about me. Oh geez, I didn't even talk about the battery. We've got a 6,000 milliamp hour battery on this bad boy, and it supports fast charging. You can get this guy back up to 100% in no time, and as long as you're not maxing everything out, the battery lasts quite a while on its own. I've averaged about 15% battery draw per hour when I'm doing medium power mode with 3DS games upscaled to 3x. So you can extrapolate to like 6 to 7 hours of moderate 3DS gameplay on a single charge. If you max out the settings and you're doing Switch stuff up here, you probably get closer to 3 to 4 hours. And if you scale things down, you might be able to play Game Boy Advance on here for like 15 hours before you need to find a power cord. All in all, a very impressive battery. And actually, if you go into the settings, you can see there's a charging separation mode for people who are interested in that. And this does charge at, I think, 27 watts as the fast charge. So very, very, very fast. Let's talk about the dual screens here for a second while we have two screens up. Obviously, you can use this for 3DS and DS emulation, and it excels at that, although it's more like a 2DS emulator since there's no actual 3D mode on here. A fair amount of people actually complained about that in my 3DS showcase, which was kind of odd. I just, sort of assumed people turn that feature off like I did, but no, I guess people like it. And then compared to other clamshell devices of this power level, like the 1X Sugar, the dual screen experience is actually really intuitive and it works out of the box. If I want to do stuff on the top screen, I select the top screen and I can ride around my horse. But if I want to scroll around here on the bottom, I just touch the bottom and now my controls control the bottom and the horse is just standing still. Let's go, Rusty! Ah! You would think this would be the standard, but previous attempts, and even with the Retroid dual screen, I always needed a fair amount of fiddling around. But for 3DS on here, I just grabbed the latest Azahar build, and it worked. Besides dual screen gaming, you can use both screens independently, like if you want to do gaming on top or YouTube on the bottom, or your 4x3 games on the bottom, while you got game FAQs on the top. You name it, you can do it. My most frequent use case is here where I have a walkthrough open on the bottom screen, and it just kind of works for me. But I've also heard about people either playing music or a podcast or even an audiobook on the second screen while they're grinding an RPG on top. It's kind of cool to have, but it's not really game breaking because I normally just use my phone for that case, but it is kind of cool to have it all in one. All right, we've been way too positive so far, so let's talk about flaws because I am sorry to report there are some flaws. There's more flaws than I actually thought there would be. First and foremost, the ergonomics, and they are fixable with a grip, but a grip is extra money, and a grip is also an extra thing you have to carry around, and they really could have just alleviated the issue by having little butt bumps on the back to begin with. I know this is a personal decision, it's an opinion, it's my opinion, but for me, it's a flaw because I love these butt doots on the back. Even just minimal butt doots would have been better. Now the other stuff though, they're flaws for everyone, and for the most part, they revolve around the hinge and the overall clamshell design. So first off for me is the fact that the right-hand side of this unit makes a slight clicking noise. It's almost like there's too much give in the hinge. And when I got my fingers back there on the shoulder buttons and I bump it, the screen clicks forward just enough that I can feel that it moves and it makes a noise. It's annoying, and I'm also kind of worried it's going to be a long-term issue that gets worse. Another issue is the fan. If you're running it on sports mode and you're holding it at specific angles, it makes kind of a whiny, grinding noise. I'm going to try to get it to go. You hear that? If I max out the fan, it's even worse. Sounds like someone's cutting wood far off in the distance. It's honestly a little bit troubling to me because it almost sounds like it's grinding. Like maybe it's up against, I don't know, a piece of styrofoam or something. But I'm kind of worried that it's just slowly sanding off either part of the fan or part of the interior housing of the device. It's not great either way. And again, let's just like $300, $350. I don't want the fan rubbing against the case. This thing is also inconsistent when it comes to powering down when the lid is shut. There's either magnets here or a sensor somewhere that tell it when it's shut, and by and large, it shuts itself when you close it. Except every once in a while, it doesn't. So you can see light coming around the edge, kind of like that, except it's all the way shut. Every once in a while it does it. Another, what I would consider to be a major problem, you see here it's turned off, there's no light escaping. If I plug it in while it's shut, it buzzes and it's on. Let me turn my lights off real quick. You can see that it's on in there, right? And it'll stay on. It'll run all night long, which is a problem because if you have this plugged in overnight and you don't notice, and it runs indefinitely, and maybe you're hooked up to a low power charger, like I was, you wake up and you have that battery alert. Despite the fact that it was plugged in overnight, you're at 5%. When it happened to me, I couldn't understand it, and it was because I had the volume off, because I was playing in bed, and I didn't realize it was running. If you have the volume up, where's that music coming from? It's honestly something I really, really hope they can fix with a patch because it's aggravating. And if I don't have the volume up, like when I'm going to bed, it's happened to me more than once. That might be a zoo problem, that I'm stupid and I don't realize that it's happening, but I know it's happening. It's just annoying, right? I'm also really nervous about long-term wear and tear because my right hinge, as someone pointed out in the comments, there's a weird line on the inside and it doesn't feel weak. Like it doesn't flex when I press it, but it's kind of worrying, especially when I'm playing and the screen is also moving in that spot. It's unsettling. I'm also nervous about the screen itself flexing because of this raised area in the middle. It means the sides can bend a little bit under pressure, and since this is a clamshell, you're probably going to be using it without a hard case. It just kind of seems like a legitimate concern, especially in light of the other stuff I experienced, especially the 2 or 3 things happening on this right side here. Each one of these issues in a vacuum wouldn't be the end of the world, but all of them stacked up make me nervous, especially in a $300 plus device. But I guess time shall tell, especially if this hinge part over here is a little wobbly. And it only does it in this orientation, not on this side, on this side. It just makes me nervous. Oh yeah, one last issue I've noticed is latency. I'm not always super sensitive to it, but I do notice it a fair amount with games where you need to use the bottom screen. So like a tree in Odyssey here, you're drawing a map. It's not fast twitch, it's not like a rhythm game, it's not super precise, but even drawing a map, it's not exactly one-to-one. I'm filming this on a 4-year-old phone, so I absolutely do not have any kind of fancy lenses or camera to do a proper latency test, but let's just draw like a sideways tree here on the bottom screen. You can see kind of lags behind. It's not where my finger is. It's It's tracing behind my finger, I don't know, 100, 150 milliseconds behind maybe. It's not great. There's a weird lag, a weird delay. I don't play anything on the 3DS that requires dead accurate input, like rhythm games, but if you do want to play those sort of games, it's definitely something to consider. Let's get rid of this orange. Well, Gary, the clock on the wall says it's time for What Did We Learn? And we learned that the AYN Thor is one of the best implementations of a dual-screen emulation device we've seen so far. By combining the tried and true chipset from the Odin 2 with two beautiful AMOLED screens, intuitive dual-screen software, and what's essentially a slightly larger Retroid Flip 2 body, AYN has really knocked it out of the park. The Thor is honestly my favorite way to play 3DS games, even above and beyond my 3DS XL here. It upscales all your 3DS games to 3x, all while in medium power mode, and 4x and higher if you're in high power mode. You got save states, cheats, texture packs, turnip drivers, the works. The only thing missing is the actual stereoscopic 3D effect, which I never liked, but a lot of commenters on my previous 3DS video, they have different opinions. Now, it's not all rainbows and unicorn farts. I do have some legitimate concerns about the build quality and the overall durability of this device. My unit, which is a retail model, by the way, it's on an early review unit that might not reflect the final build. Came off the assembly line with everyone else's, and it has a weird click on the screen. It has fan whining. It's not even whining, it's grinding. And it's got a little bubble or some sort of internal crack here on the right hinge. There's also some software issues I noticed, like the screen turning on while it's plugged in, but hopefully that can be patched out. I don't think AYN can send me an over-the-air fix if the hinge snaps, it's kind of a bummer. It's not kind of a bummer, it is a bummer. If you thought this video was the opposite of a bummer and you want to see more, then remember to like and subscribe. We've got a lot of content coming out. We're going on another RH Boys trip soon. New releases are pouring in every day, and it's almost Christmas. Who else would you trust to let you know which handhelds make perfect gifts? Russell Decor? Come on. He's way too big time to muck around in the e-waste sewers, but not me. I got one of those headlamps, I got some hip waders, and I'm not afraid of rats. So, yeah, think about it. Anyway, thanks for watching, and we'll see you next time. Goodbye.